I never thought the day would come when my own children would look me in the eyes and say the words that shattered my heart. Dad, you need to move out. This house isn't yours anymore. My daughter-in-law said it like she was talking to a stranger. Cold, sharp, like she had the right. My son stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes avoiding mine, as if I was the one causing trouble in their home. The same home I built brick by brick. The same home where they took their first steps, learned to ride bicycles, celebrated birthdays, cried through breakups, and laughed until late at night. And now, they were telling me I didn't belong there. At first, I thought it was a joke, a misunderstanding, anything but reality. But then my son placed a folder on the table, a thick stack of papers already signed. Dad, we already transferred the house. You signed the documents last month. Remember? I felt my stomach twist. Documents? What documents? Then I remembered the papers they rushed me to sign because they claimed it was just bank forms. For a loan they needed. I felt sick. My daughter-in-law leaned forward and whispered, "We need the space. You can go live somewhere cheaper. It'll be better for all of us." She smiled, a smile I'll never forget. My hands were shaking. I couldn't tell if it was anger, heartbreak, or both. I walked out of the room, each step heavier than the last, thinking my life had just been stolen from me. By the very people I raised, but life is funny. Sometimes betrayal opens the door to a truth you never expected. Because the very next morning, I opened a letter from my lawyer, a letter that changed everything. Inside it was the real will, the real deed, and the truth that my children never saw coming. A truth that proved one thing: they tried to take everything from me. Instead, they lost everything, and that is where my story begins. I always believed that a parent could sense danger long before it arrived, a shift in tone, a heaviness in the room, a quietness that didn't belong, but I failed to sense the biggest danger of my life, the betrayal growing right inside my home. It was a regular evening. I was humming an old song my late wife loved as I washed the dishes. The house smelled of dinner chicken curry, garlic naan, and a hint of burnt onions because my daughter-in-law got distracted scrolling on her phone. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Then I noticed them, my son, Faisal, pacing back and forth in the living room, and Aisha standing beside him, arms folded, staring at me with something I couldn't place at first. Annoyance, irritation, no. Today it was sharper. Today it was judgment. "Dad, we need to talk," Faisal said. Those 5 words were heavy enough to change a life. I wiped my hands and walked over. "What happened? Everything all right?" Aisha didn't wait for him. She stepped forward. "No, it's not. We've been thinking about this for months." She glanced at Faisal as if asking for permission. Then it came. "Dad," he said, "you need to move out." I laughed instinctively. Not because it was funny, but because my brain couldn't process what my ears had just heard. Move out from what? The guest room? No. Aisha cut in. "From the house, this house, you need to find a smaller place, something that fits your situation. My situation." I felt something inside me twist. "This house is mine," I said quietly. "I built it. Your mother and I," Aisha raised her hand. "Please don't dramatize. You signed the house over to us. We filed the transfer weeks ago." Before I could respond, Faisal placed a brown envelope on the table. Inside were documents thick, official, heavy with legal language. At the bottom of every page was my signature, or something made to look like it. My hands trembled. "I never signed these." "Yes, you did," Aisha insisted. "You were sick. You needed help. We told you it was bank paperwork. You agreed." I stared at my son for a sign, a crack of guilt, a hint of regret, but he looked away. Aisha's voice sharpened. "This house is ours now. We need privacy. We're planning a family. You shouldn't be stuck here anyway. It's time." With every word, the room shrank around me. They weren't just pushing me out. They were erasing me. As if I was nothing but old furniture taking up space. My legs felt weak. I excused myself, walked to my room, and closed the door with shaking hands. I sat on the bed, staring at those papers, until the words blurred. Fake signatures, lies, my own children treating me like a stranger. But as I wiped my eyes, something unexpected caught my attention. A small stamp at the bottom of the last page. A stamp I recognized, but not from any document I had ever signed. Sleep didn't come to me that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles above me, replaying every moment of the past months, Every odd conversation, every rushed signature, every time Aisha had hovered with a fake smile, every time Faisal had avoided my eyes, and suddenly, things that didn't make sense before began to fit together. It started 2 months ago. I had fallen ill, nothing serious, just a fever and some dizziness. Aisha and Faisal had insisted I stay in my room and rest. They brought me food, checked my temperature, and acted like they cared. One morning, when I was half drowsy from the medication, Faisal walked in holding a stack of papers. "Dad, the bank needs your signature," he said. "It's for the loan I'm applying for. Just a routine update since you're living with us." I remember blinking slowly, trying to focus. "I don't need to sign anything for your loan," I murmured. "It's just a verification," he said quickly. "The bank needs confirmation that the address is correct. Nothing else." Aisha was behind him then, smiling. "Just sign, Dad. You're so worried all the time. Faisal knows what he's doing." I remember feeling weak, dizzy, not strong enough to read anything carefully. "Can it wait until I'm better?" I asked. Aisha shook her head. "No, they'll cancel the application." They made it sound urgent, desperate, and in my vulnerable state, I trusted them my own family. I scribbled my signature across a page I barely saw, but now, staring at the thick envelope in my room, I realized the truth. They didn't need me to sign a bank form. They needed me to sign away my home. My chest tightened with shame and anger. How could they? How could my son, my flesh and blood, take advantage of me like that? The more I remembered, the more it hurt. Aisha had been unusually sweet during those days, bringing me soup, adjusting my pillows, smiling too much, asking repeatedly, "Do you trust us, Dad?" And every time I had said yes, I felt like a fool. By morning, exhaustion had numbed the shock, leaving only a cold, steady anger. I picked up the envelope again. That strange stamp stared at me. It was from a legal firm, but not the firm we had ever dealt with, not the one my wife and I trusted. My heartbeat quickened. Why would the documents be stamped by a firm I never interacted with? Why would my signature appear on something I never approved? I needed answers. I needed help. So I reached for my phone and texted my old lawyer, the one who handled all my documents with my wife. "Can you come by today? Urgent." I didn't expect him to respond so quickly. But instead of a message, there was a knock on my bedroom door. I opened it to find Aisha holding an envelope. "This came for you," she said, expression unreadable. The envelope was thick, heavy. The sender's name, printed in clean letters, I recognized immediately. It was from my lawyer. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding the envelope like it contained a live bomb. My hands tingled. My heart thudded painfully. Aisha stood by the door, watching me without blinking. "Anything important?" she asked. I forced a steady voice. "Just legal paperwork." She hesitated, but when I didn't open it in front of her, she eventually walked away. I waited until I heard her footsteps fade. Then I opened the envelope. Inside was a multi-page letter stamped with the official seal of my late wife's lawyer, the same man who handled all our financial matters, wills, and property documents. I unfolded the first page, and my breath caught. "This letter is being issued as per your late wife's instructions." My vision blurred. My wife, my partner, the one who passed away 3 years ago, leaving a silence in the house nothing could fill. I swallowed hard and continued reading. "Your wife left a secondary will, to be opened only if an attempt was made to transfer ownership of the family home without your knowledge or consent." My heart stopped. A secondary will, without my knowledge. I read on, my fingers trembling. She specifically stated that if any family member, including children, attempted to manipulate, deceive, or pressure you into signing away the property, the original deed would automatically revert to your sole ownership for life. I closed my eyes, emotions crashing like waves. My wife knew. She knew our children could be influenced. She knew greed could change people. She knew I might be vulnerable someday. She had tried to protect me even after death. I blinked away the tears and kept reading. Attached to the letter was a copy of the real deed, registered under both our names and now, after her passing, under mine alone. Then came the final blow. Additionally, any unauthorized documents signed under illness, confusion, or duress are legally void. We have already filed a protection notice with the property registrar. Your children have no legal claim over the house. I let out a shaky breath. They had tricked me, but they had failed. Worse, they had no idea how badly they had failed. At the bottom of the letter was one more line, handwritten in my lawyer's familiar script. Call me as soon as possible. Your wife trusted you to handle this wisely. I folded the letter slowly. My heartbreak was still there, heavy, raw, impossible to ignore, but beneath it, something new stirred, strength, clarity, purpose. My children had pushed me out of my own home, but the truth was simple. The home was still mine. Legally, completely, irrevocably, and they were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. I stood up, holding the letter tightly. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. The next morning, I left the house before anyone woke up. I didn't want to see their faces, the greed, the entitlement, the fake concern. I didn't want to hear Aisha's bossy tone or see Faisal pretending to be the dutiful son. I just wanted answers. My lawyer, Mr. Hamid, greeted me at his office with a firm handshake and a look of concern. He was an older man, someone who had known my wife and me for over 20 years. Sit, he said gently. You look exhausted. I sank into the chair. They tried to take the house from me. I whispered, my own children. He didn't look surprised, and that scared me more than anything. I suspected something was wrong. He said, that's why I sent the letter immediately. Your wife prepared her secondary will with very specific instructions. I nodded slowly. Tell me everything. He opened a file thick, organized, filled with documents I had never seen. Your wife saw things you didn't. He began. She noticed how easily Faisal was influenced, how Aisha discussed property and money too often. She feared that someday they might try to pressure you. My chest tightened. I remembered all the times my wife had quietly observed them, all the times she had shaken her head and said, be careful who you trust. And the signature, I asked, the papers they showed me. Hamid leaned forward. Fake, not legally binding. You were sick, you couldn't have understood what you were signing. Even if you had signed something, the secondary will overrides any transfer of ownership done under manipulation. I felt relief wash over me, but right behind it came anger, sharp and hot. They thought they could get away with it. They can't, Hamid said firmly. In fact, the transfer they filed is now flagged as suspicious. That alone puts them in trouble. I exhaled slowly. I want to take the house back formally. I want them out. Hamid raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? I nodded. Yes, they crossed a line. This is my home. He pulled out another set of documents. We'll reclaim everything legally, but before we proceed, there's something else you should know. He hesitated, something I'd never seen him do. What is it? I asked. He opened a folder and slid a printed sheet toward me. This is the updated valuation of your property. I scanned the page, then my eyes widened. $6 million. My home, the one they tried to steal, was worth $6 million. I felt dizzy. No wonder they were so desperate. No wonder they were in such a hurry. No wonder they wanted me out. They didn't just want the house, they wanted the fortune. Hamid leaned back and studied my shock. I didn't tell you earlier because I needed to confirm it, but now I have. I swallowed. What else is there? He opened a small sealed envelope. The handwriting on it made my breath catch familiar loops, careful strokes. My wife's handwriting, for you, Hamid said. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter, dated 2 years before she passed away. My love, it began, I know you trust easily, and it's one of the things I always admired about you. But sometimes trust becomes dangerous. I closed my eyes as her voice echoed in my mind. She wrote about her worries, how she saw changes in Faisal, small seeds of greed. How Aisha spoke too confidently about the future, as if the house already belonged to them. How she feared the day my health might weaken. Then came the part that shattered me. I created a separate clause in the will. If anyone tries to push you out of the home, you gain full, permanent ownership with the right to sell, transfer, or reclaim it without their permission. My chest tightened. My wife had protected me from a betrayal I didn't even believe was possible. She loved you fiercely. Hamid said quietly. I nodded, unable to speak. And there's more, he continued. She also left instructions for me to help you with anything if the children ever turned against you. She trusted you to make the right choice. A lump formed in my throat. All those quiet evenings she spent writing in her diary. All the calls she made in private. She wasn't hiding from me. She was preparing for me. I wiped my eyes. I can't believe they would do this, but she saw it coming. Hamid nodded, and she made sure they could never succeed. I took a deep breath. What do we do now? He slid the legal documents forward. The house is yours. You can evict them legally. You can sell it. You can reclaim everything. A strange calmness settled inside me, not anger, not revenge, clarity. They think they've already won, I said. Hamid gave a small smile. Let them think it. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from my daughter, the one child who had always stayed somewhat distant from the drama. Dad, I need to talk to you. It's about Faisal and Aisha. Please call me. My heart skipped a beat. I stepped out of Hamid's office with the documents safely tucked inside my jacket. The air outside felt different, sharper, colder, but clearer. The storm had begun, but for the first time in a long while I felt in control. My phone buzzed again. My daughter Zara calling. I answered. Zara, what's wrong? Her voice shook. Dad, I don't know if I should say this, but I can't keep quiet anymore. My heartbeat quickened. Say what? She hesitated. Can you meet me, not at the house, somewhere private? Where are you? I'm at the cafe near the old park. She said, please hurry. I rushed over, my mind spinning with possibilities. Zara had always been the quieter one, more observant, less confrontational. She stayed away from the conflicts, but she wasn't blind. When I entered the cafe, she stood up immediately. Her eyes were red like she hadn't slept. Dad, she whispered, I'm so sorry. I sat down. Tell me what happened. She took a deep breath. Faisal and Aisha, they're not just trying to take the house. They've been planning this for months. They told their friends the house was already theirs. They're expecting a huge loan using the property as collateral. My stomach nodded. A loan? Zara nodded. They want to start some luxury business, Aisha's idea, and they told everyone you'd be leaving soon because you agreed to it. I clenched my jaw, so they've been lying to everyone. That's not all, she said softly. They were planning to push you out fast. They said you're old, and you won't fight back. They said you'd be too confused to understand. My hands tightened into fists, confused, old, weak. My own son had underestimated me that much. I leaned back, forcing myself to breathe. Thank you for telling me, Zara. She nodded, tears threatening her eyes. I'm scared for you, Dad. They're acting different, obsessed, like they already own everything. I'm not the one who should be scared, I said quietly. She looked up, confused. I took out the letter, my wife's will, and slid it to her. As she read it, her jaw dropped. Dad, Mom knew, yes, I said, and she protected me. Zara wiped her tears. Then they're finished. Not yet, I replied. But they will be. I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in years. It was time to confront the mess, time to reveal the truth, time to take back what was mine. And for the first time, I wasn't alone. My daughter was standing with me. 2 days passed after the lawyer confirmed everything. 2 days of silence from my son and daughter-in-law. 2 days of replaying the betrayal again and again in my mind until the anger became something deeper, something heavier, sharper. But on the third evening, my doorbell rang again. I opened it to find my daughter, standing there with red, swollen eyes. Her hair was messy, her breathing uneven, as if she'd run the whole way. Baba. Her voice broke before she could say anything else. I stepped aside instantly. Come inside. She walked in slowly, hugging herself as if she were cold. When she sat down at the dining table, her gaze fell on the stack of documents, the forged transfer papers, the real deed, the lawyer's letter. She didn't ask what they were. She already knew, Baba. She whispered, I have to tell you something, and you might hate me after this. My heart tightened. Just tell me. She took a long breath, hands trembling. It was all their idea, she said. Bai and Babai, they planned everything. I stayed silent, letting her speak. They said you're getting old, that you don't need such a big house. Tears spilled down her cheeks. They said it was for your own good, but it wasn't. They wanted the house, Baba, all of it. My stomach twisted. She continued, voice shaking harder now. They forged your signature. They hired someone to create the documents. They told me I should support them, or else I'd be left out of the family. My breath hitched, left out of the family, my own children. My blood using threats, manipulation, greed. Against their own sister, against me. Against the home their mother built with her hands. My daughter wiped her tears. But I said they would, force you to move out if they had to, that once everything was transferred, we'd sell this place, and he and Babai would use the money to buy a bigger house. She swallowed. He told me not to tell you anything. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the weight of her words settle inside me like stones. And you? I asked quietly. Why are you telling me now? Her face crumpled. Because I saw what they were doing to you, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. She reached for my hand. Baba, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you earlier. I should have. I squeezed her hand before she could finish. You came now. I said softly, that's what matters. For the first time in days, I felt a warmth, small, fragile, but real. My daughter hugged me tightly, and I held her as if she were a child again, trembling in my arms. After a few minutes, she pulled back. Bai told me they're coming tomorrow evening, she said. He wants to finalize everything. I looked at the forged papers on the table. Then at the real deed resting like a quiet weapon beside them. Good, I said. My daughter blinked. Good, yes. I stood up slowly, let them come. Her eyes widened as she realized what I meant. I wasn't running anymore. Tomorrow, the truth would meet them face to face. The next evening arrived like a storm waiting to break. My daughter sat beside me in the living room, hands twisting in her lap. Every couple of minutes, she exhaled shakily, as if trying to calm her racing thoughts. It's going to be okay, I told her gently, but she wasn't the only one nervous. I had spent the entire day preparing myself, not to shout, not to cry, but to finally stand firm. At 7:14 p.m. exactly, the front gate slammed. Then footsteps, heavy, confident footsteps. My son barged in without knocking, my daughter-in-law on his heels. He looked around, annoyed. So, he said, you're still here. My daughter lowered her gaze. I didn't, yes, I said calmly. This is my home. His expression tightened, not for long. We talked about this, Baba. Your signature is on the papers, you agreed. My daughter-in-law crossed her arms and scoffed. Let's not drag this. We have plans, and we're running out of time. Just pack your things and move into the guest portion like we discussed. I didn't move or blink or react. Instead, I leaned forward slightly. I didn't agree to anything, and you know that. My son's voice rose sharply. Stop acting innocent. You signed the documents. My daughter suddenly stood up. No, he didn't. Both of them turned to her in shock. She stared at her brother, eyes full of hurt and fury. You forged his signature. You told me to keep quiet. My son's face drained of color, only for a second, before he forced a smile. Don't be ridiculous, he said. You're confused, or Baba manipulated you. My daughter-in-law chimed in quickly, her tone dripping with false sweetness. Sweetheart, you know how emotional you can get. Enough, I said. The room fell silent. No shouting, no arguing, just one cold, heavy word sitting in the air. My son glared at me. What do you think you're doing? You can't stop this. I held his gaze. I don't need to stop anything. The truth will. He frowned. What truth? I reached for the folder lying on the table beside me. His eyes followed the movement. My daughter-in-law's confidence faltered. I placed the folder on my lap, tapped the cover once, and said quietly, the truth you thought you could bury. My son laughed, loud, shaky, unsure. You have nothing, he snapped. Those papers have already been filed. The house belongs to, are you sure? He opened his mouth to respond, but I was already opening the folder, revealing what lay inside. His eyes widened. His wife's hand halted mid-gesture. My daughter bit her lip, watching their faces crumble. They saw the first page, and then the second, and then I shut the folder again. Sit down, I said. They did for the first time. They obeyed. My son was breathing fast now, his arrogance draining like water from a cracked jug. What is this supposed to be? He demanded, voice unsteady. I opened the folder again, but this time I slid only one paper across the table. The official property registrar's certification, the original deed, my name the only name on it, and stamped boldly at the bottom, No transfer of ownership has been authorized or processed. My daughter-in-law's lips parted in horror. My son leaned forward, squinting at the print as if disbelief alone could change ink into a lie. This can't be real, he whispered. Oh, it's real, I said, very real. Then I placed the forged documents beside it. Now compare. My son grabbed them, scanning frantically. His voice cracked. Who told you these were fake? I didn't need anyone to tell me. I said, a courier brought me the proof. His head snapped up. What courier? I took out the letter. The one your mother left behind. Silence, dead, heavy silence. My daughter covered her mouth, eyes welling. My son swallowed hard. Mom, what do you mean? I slid the letter across the table. Your mother left a will with a lawyer years ago, a sealed directive. She asked them to contact me if anyone ever tried to take this house away without my consent. His face drained of every trace of color. She predicted this. My daughter whispered. I nodded. Your mother trusted you. I continued, but she trusted the law more. My daughter-in-law slammed her hand on the table. This is ridiculous. We just wanted to take what wasn't yours. I finished. No, my son yelled, standing up abruptly. We were trying to secure our future. You don't need this house, Baba. You're old and you're greedy. The room shook with those words. He stared at me, stunned. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. I worked my whole life for this home. I built it with my wife. Every brick, every wall, every memory here belongs to us. Not to your greed, not to your entitlement. He opened his mouth. I raised a hand, and now, I said softly, it ends. My daughter squeezed my arm, tears falling silently. I gathered all the documents, the real ones and the fake ones, and placed them neatly back into the folder. Then I looked my son in the eyes. You tried to take everything from me. I said, but you only taught me one thing. He inhaled sharply. What? He whispered that I must protect myself from my own family. I stood up. You and your wife will leave this house tonight, and we will settle everything legally from here. His wife gasped. You can't do that. I held up the real deed I already have. My son stared at me, at everything collapsing around him. And I watched the moment he realized he had lost, not just the house, but something far more valuable, my trust, my respect, my heart. The morning after the confrontation, the house felt eerily quiet. No shouting, no arguments, just silence. Like the walls themselves were relieved the truth had finally been dragged into the light. My daughter sat beside me at breakfast, still shaken. Baba, what now? She asked softly. I looked around the living room, the staircase, the high ceiling, the old photographs. This house wasn't just a building. It was 27 years of my life. It was my wife's laughter. It was my children growing up. It was everything, and yet they had turned it into a battlefield. I'm selling it. I said. My daughter froze. You're what? I'm selling the house. I repeated calmly. If they tried so hard to steal it, they don't deserve it. That afternoon, I called the lawyer and the agent recommended in my late wife's confidential letter. They worked fast, faster than I expected. Within hours, the listing went live. Within a day, offers started pouring in. $6 million. $6 million. For the home my children thought I was too old to manage. But they didn't find out until the next morning. I was sitting in the garden when I heard my son shouting from the front door. Baba, Baba, what have you done? I didn't answer. He stormed toward me, holding his phone like a weapon. Why is our house listed online? Why is it being shown to buyers? I stood up slowly. It's not our house, it's mine. His face twisted in disbelief. We were supposed to live here. This was our plan, our future. You planned your future using my property. I said, now make a new plan. My daughter-in-law appeared behind him, eyes wild, hair messy, panic dripping from every movement. You can't do this, she cried. You can't just sell it. Where will we go? What about our friends, our reputation? You should have thought of that. I said, before trying to throw me out of my own home. She shook her head frantically. No, no, no. We didn't mean it. We were stressed. We were confused. Please, please don't do this. Her knees buckled. She fell to the ground, sobbing loudly, clutching her face. My son looked stunned, helpless, as his wife broke down in front of him. But I didn't move toward her. I didn't comfort her. Not this time. They had pushed me to the edge. Now they were seeing the drop. The house sold within 10 days. 10. By the 11th morning, I had moved into a smaller, peaceful cottage on the outskirts of town, a place with no memories, no arguments, no shadows of betrayal, but news travels fast, very fast. By the weekend, the entire extended family knew. Friends from the neighborhood knew, half the community knew. Everyone had an opinion. Some whispered that I had overreacted. Others said I had finally taken a stand. A few honest ones said the truth out loud. They deserved it. My daughter stayed by my side, refusing to be pulled into the chaos. But my son and daughter-in-law, they were drowning in it. Their friends, people they used to show off to distance themselves quickly. No one wanted to associate with a couple who tried to evict their own father from a multi-million-dollar home. My son's coworkers heard the rumors. His boss even called me privately, apologizing for what I had gone through. My daughter-in-law's social group practically evaporated. Invitations stopped, messages stopped. Smiles stopped. You see, betrayal destroys more than relationships. It destroys reputations, and this one was loud. Very loud. Everywhere I went, people lowered their voices, waiting to hear my side of the story. Only to whisper afterward, how could they? One evening, while arranging my books in my new living room, my doorbell rang. I assumed it was my daughter, but when I opened the door, it was him, my son, standing alone. His eyes were hollow, his clothes wrinkled, his face tired, like he hadn't slept in days. "Baba," he said quietly, "can we talk?" I stepped aside, but I didn't offer him tea or a seat. He stood in the center of the room, small, fragile, nothing like the confident young man who once tried to push me out of my own home. "Everyone hates us," he said. "People think we're monsters." I said nothing. He swallowed. "Baba, I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't think that. I interrupted. Is your problem. You didn't think." He closed his eyes, pain flashing across his face. "We lost everything." I nodded slowly. "You didn't lose everything." I said softly, "You gave it away." He looked up quickly, as if searching for some sign of mercy in my expression. There wasn't any. His lips trembled. "Baba, please just talk to me." I looked at him for a long moment, my heart heavy. "All right." I said, "Let's talk." His shoulders eased, just a little, but he didn't know yet. This conversation would not save him. It would break him. He sat down slowly, hesitating, like he was afraid the chair might reject him. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he whispered, "Baba, I'm sorry." I didn't respond. He wiped his face. "I know I hurt you. I know what we did was wrong, but everything was falling apart for us. We were drowning in loans, and you could have come to me." I said quietly. He froze. "You could have told me the truth." I continued. "You could have asked for help. You could have talked to me like a son." He looked down at his hands, ashamed. Instead, he chose to steal from me. "Baba, I didn't mean to betray you. I just..." His voice cracked. I panicked. I leaned back, studying him. "You panicked." I repeated. "So your solution was to throw your father into a small room and take his home, the home your mother built." Tears rolled down his cheeks now. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he whispered, "but please, please don't cut me out of your life." My throat tightened for the first time, not with sympathy, with grief, because I finally understood something. He wasn't apologizing because he realized the pain he caused. He was apologizing because he had been caught. I stood up. He looked terrified. "Baba." I walked to the window, staring outside. The open fields, the quiet evening sky, the peace I had finally earned. "When your mother died," I said softly, "I promised her I would protect this family. I failed. No, Baba, let me finish." He fell silent. "I gave you everything." I said, "I trusted you. I believed in you. I thought you would grow into a man who valued respect, but instead..." I turned to face him. "You became someone I don't recognize." His face crumpled. "Baba, please." I walked past him toward the front door. He quickly stood up. Where are you going?" I opened the door. "To end this," I said. He stared at me, breathing unevenly. "Baba, don't leave, please." I looked at him one last time, when your greed became bigger than your love. I said, "You left me long before I ever walked away." And with that I stepped outside, leaving him in the doorway, alone with the consequences he created. The weeks after that final conversation with my son were strangely quiet. No shouting, no arguments, no footsteps storming through hallways that once echoed with my children's laughter. Just silence, but it wasn't the heavy, suffocating silence from before. This one felt peaceful. Each morning, I sat on the small wooden bench outside my new cottage, watching the sunrise stretch across the fields. I made tea the way my late wife loved it, light, aromatic, with just a hint of cardamom. Sometimes I whispered to her, telling her everything that had happened. I did what you asked. I'd say, I protected myself. Healing wasn't quick or perfect. Some nights the memories hit me hard. My son yelling my daughter, in-law mocking my age, the fake documents, the betrayal. Other nights I questioned myself. Did I go too far? Could I have forgiven him? Should I have tried again? But every time doubt crept in, I remembered one thing. They weren't sorry for the pain. They were sorry they got caught. That truth kept me grounded. Slowly, I built a routine. I cooked my meals again. I fixed the garden outside. I even joined a small community group where older men gathered to play cards and talk about life. One of them told me, peace is expensive. Sometimes the price is letting people go. He was right. My daughter visited often, sometimes with groceries, sometimes with jokes, sometimes just to check on me. I could see her healing too, letting go of the guilt she carried for not speaking up sooner. Baba, she said one afternoon, you seem lighter. I smiled. Maybe I finally understood something. What's that? That peace comes when you stop fighting for places where you were never respected. She held my hand quietly. For the first time in a long while, I felt myself breathe fully, deeply, without heaviness in my chest. But peace never stays undisturbed. One evening, as I was closing the curtains, my phone buzzed, a message from my son, just 2 words, I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, unsure whether it was guilt, manipulation, or genuine remorse. But I knew one thing, whatever came next, I would face it on my terms. For days I didn't reply, not out of spite, not out of anger, out of clarity. When someone has broken your trust that deeply, forgiveness is not a door, it is a decision. And decisions require time. Instead, I focused on the rebuilding that still needed to be done. My daughter needed help sorting her finances, and I stepped in with small steps, guiding her, teaching her what her mother used to teach me. Don't depend on anyone. I told her, not even me. Build your life with your own hands. She nodded, taking notes. I wasn't helping her with money. I was helping her with strength, the kind of strength I wish I had given her earlier. Together, we set boundaries around family, around expectations, around respect. She limited contact with her brother and sister-in-law. She protected her peace like it was gold. Baba, she said one day while we were organizing her paperwork, do you think Bai will change? I sighed. People change only when life forces them to face themselves. She tilted her head, and has life forced him? I looked at the unanswered message on my phone. I don't know. I said, but I know I can't teach him anymore. He has to learn on his own. She hugged me tightly. Slowly, life began to feel stable again. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. I cooked more. I slept better. I planted new flowers in the garden. Their colors filled the space with something I hadn't felt in months, hope. One afternoon, while watering the plants, I realized something important. You cannot lose your family if they are truly yours, and if they are not truly yours, losing them is not a loss. That realization settled into my heart like a quiet truth. Later that night, I sat down at my desk, ready to reply to my son's 2-word message. But before I typed a single word, I paused. My final reflection, my last decision, had to come from a place of peace, not pain. So I closed the phone and began writing something else instead. My story, my truth, my lesson. I wrote late into the night, not for revenge, not for pity, not even for closure. I wrote to remind myself that my life had value, even when my own children forgot it. As the pages filled up, I realized something I had never understood before. Sometimes family wounds you deeper than strangers ever could. But sometimes family also saves you. My daughter saved me. Her honesty brought me back from the edge. Her courage reminded me that not all love disappears. Some of it survives, even in the ruins. When I finally finished writing, I stepped outside. The air was cool, the night sky full of stars. I closed my eyes and remembered my wife, her voice, her smile, her wisdom. You did the right thing, I imagined her saying, and for the first time, I believed it. The next morning, I picked up my phone. My son's message still waited, sitting quietly like a ghost of regret. I typed a single sentence in reply: heal yourself first, then we'll talk. I didn't know if he ever would, but I knew I had given him the only thing left to give: a chance, not forgiveness, not a clean slate. A chance, and with that, my heart finally felt light enough to move on. I stood outside my cottage, breathing deeply as the sun rose over my new beginning. My life had changed, my future had changed, and most importantly, I had changed. I learned that love without respect is not love. Family without loyalty is not family, and a home without trust is just a building. As I looked out at the horizon, I whispered the truth that had carried me through the darkest chapter of my life. Respect matters more than money, and now they know it too.